All right, we are back with one more last Papa Bear Knives discussion. These were sent in from Mike down in Australia. As I mentioned in the other videos, here is Papa Bear Knives contact information if you are looking for them. Alan has been great. We've chatted a few times. This one I wanted to do a little bit different. I've already done a full video on this model. This is the Essential, quote unquote, slightly larger. And then as I opened up the box to see what else Mike had sent, I have the Essential model or Generation 1, Essential Generation 2, and then the one that's slightly bigger. And if we line them all up, yes, it is slightly bigger. So let's just talk about these kind of in just general as the evolution of these knives has come about. I think it's great. I didn't look at the pricing. I didn't look these up online or anything. I got a few details. Not going to go into all the specs, but yeah, they're cool. So let's start off with the Gen 1, which came with a Kydex sheath with a Techlock belt clasp thing. There's a lot of retention there. This is not going to fall out. In fact, it takes a little bit to pull it out. Very sharp, nice edges on these. This one is 8670 steel with a vintage micarta scales. Now, one thing I noticed right off the bat was the handle shape has evolved from Gen 1 to Gen 2. Also, the finishing on the blade, I think, evolved. This one's got kind of the rock chip pattern all the way down, or the hammer marks all the way down, whereas this one gets some nice flats on the grind, and then that rock chip or, hammer marked on the flats. There's a little bit more of a swell here in the handle, which I do like. It's a little just more contoured. And I prefer that. I like that. And you can feel it in the hand when you pick these up. As soon as you pick this up, this is a much more comfortable handle. Now, that's not to say there's anything wrong with a Gen 1. But that's the differences. He also went up in the steel here and did 80 CRV2 with blue canvas micarta scales rather than just the vintage micarta. And we'll notice as we kind of look, he's added liners to the Gen 2 as well, where there was no liners on the Gen 1. That's a little thing, and that's a very visual thing, but there is a little more effort and work involved to put in liners. Make sure they all line up, make sure they're all contoured and scale, sanded and smooth. It just takes a little bit more effort to do that than it does to just put standard scales on. Nothing wrong with just standard scales, don't get me wrong. I like the finish he puts on the pins. Just black here, but if you look at the pins on the Gen 2, it looks like they're kind of covered with a piece of like a little plug of micarta, of like a vintage micarta, which I'm guessing is the same as the liner, or as the inner liner, second liner. I think that's cool. That is an attention to detail that a lot of people might not notice or might not care about. But I noticed that. Right away, I noticed that, and I think that's very cool. You can also see there's some differences in the pin spacing. I don't know. I honestly, I kind of like this spacing better because it looks like there's just 3 pins in a row, whereas here you got 2 pins and a land. It's aesthetically, to me, I like the detail of these pins, but I like the spacing of those pins. This is all subjective. I'm just a knucklehead guy with a camera. I'm no expert. I'm no authority or influencer or whatever stupid name people want to call themselves on YouTube. I'm just a knife collector and enthusiast. That's all I am. So take all of my opinions in that light. But I will say that I do like the feel of this a lot better in my hand. And then you go up to the one that's slightly larger that he made for Mike. You know, it evolved again. It's more of that neutral handle like the Gen 1. If we trade places here, it's much more, doesn't have quite the swell as the Gen 2 does. And then he's added more pins. I like the six pin because that is actually a pin. It's a tube that goes all the way through, and it does help adhere the scales. You know what I mean? So I like this configuration. I like this model knife. Now the Gen 2 came with a leather sheath, which is equally as nice as one of the Neckers I just did a video on. Kind of a two-tone. There's like a little bit of a different color. I don't know if you can pick that up. Yeah. It's kind of a little bit lighter or grayish on the outside and darker on the inside. Very cool. Nice stitching. Really well made. And works really well. All in all, guys, I think you need to go and check out Alan at Papa Bear Knives. And he's doing some amazing things here in the United States. And super quality work. I'm impressed with everything I've seen. Yes, at some point, I will probably reach out to him about making me something. I need to kind of really study his website more and come up with the model that I like because, yeah, I have no need for a fixed blade, but sometimes is need even relevant? We collect because we collect, and that's all there is to it. We collect because we like stuff and we want to have it on the shelf, in the drawer, on our desk, and that's that. Whether we use it, it's practical, that has no bearing on anything we do to collect, whether that's knives, watches, flashlights, cars, stamps, coins, the vintage Levi jeans, whatever collection you can have, practicality is out the window. So thanks for watching my Papa Bear Knives rambles these last few videos. I greatly appreciate it. Please go check out my Papa Bear playlist over here, which will continue to grow, I am sure. And please go check out the live streaming channel over here on the right, where we will have Alan from Papa Bear Knives on shortly. We just have to work out the scheduling. We're going to have some great guests coming up. Honestly, we've got Schrade Knives on the hook. We've got Papa Bear Knives that we're talking to. Ian from CMF, Knife Works, CMF. Drawing a blank there. We've got some great guests on the list that we just need to work out scheduling for. So please go check us out because you're not going to want to miss the time with those guys live for you to ask questions. Thanks a lot, guys.